Hello, Craftin buddies. It's Lori from Lori's Little Bit of Crafting. I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator in the United States coming to you on Sunday, May 25th from Wisconsin. Welcome. I need to click into my iPad here so I can see if anybody's joining me and try to watch the comments. I apologize if I miss them sometimes. Sometimes it seems easier than others to kind of follow the comments. So anyway, welcome. Thanks for popping in and watching. I am going to feature again this Kintsugi Inspirations Suite collection. And yes, I did find my embellishments. And I hadn't opened them yet, but they were in a stack of some of my newer items that I have played with some of them and some of them not. And that didn't slice through kind of how I wanted it to. So let's just clip that corner off. What I do with my embellishments so that I don't have to fight with the wrapper every time is I open up the adhesive and then slice open the side and then put that back on there. And that way I can slide my rhinestones or whatever embellishment it is right out the side. And I'm left-handed, so I always do mine so it comes in and out of the side. It just makes it easier for me than trying to fight with the adhesive on there. And I don't care to purchase additional sleeves to put my embellishments in. I'm just trying to straighten up some of my little tools here because they got hooked into each other. All right, so tonight I have prepped some things, but I'm going to case this card right out of the catalog. Okay, I'll show you a couple of different things. We're going to do a little bit of embossing. I am not going to use the same sentiment, but pretty much the other things will be similar. Okay, and let's do the embossing first. So there's a couple things we need to cut, a couple of things we need to emboss. I did some of the die cutting already, but you can see on this piece of Misty Moonlight how I have embossed the front of the card. All right, with this embossing folder, normally I tell you to put the fold in first. This time, because of how we have to get the design on here, it's going to be too wide. If I put it through like this, it'll be too wide to put through the machine. And if I fold it over, I might not get a good edge image, and it can ripple the back. So what I did is ran it through with my embossing folder sideways. So let me move these things kind of out of the way. I'm going to put those on my magnet so I don't lose them. And I'll push those out of the way. Let me get my Bossy Bessie, my big Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine. And we need just the base plate and the embossing plate. All right, and this is a 3D embossing folder. So what I did with this is, when you watch these embossing folders, there's a line at the bottom, and that helps you keep your cardstock or your paper straight if there's a directional design in there. This one doesn't matter a whole lot, but it helps to keep things lined up, and that way you can avoid having a void spot on the top of your paper if you've missed part of the embossed design. So what I want to do here is, I have scored this already, but I want to have my score line right on the edge, like right here where the edge of the design comes through. I'm going to have it right on the edge of there. And then I'm going to close this on it. And I'm going to feed it through this way. So my fold, my hinge on my embossing folder is going to be on the side. Now, if you are careful and make sure that everything is snugged in there pretty well. Make sure your embossing folder is nice and flat when you put it in there. It will not break, all right? So just be careful. And then you can see here where the design went right to the edge of my score line. All right. So you can see there's no embossing on the back, but you could certainly emboss the whole card base and have your design on the front and the back. I just chose to have the embossing on the front only. All right. So let's go ahead and get this out of the way. And then I think I have everything else cut out. So I'm going to put my Stampin' Cut and Emboss machine away. Make sure nothing's stuck to it, because that does sometimes happen. All right. So with my card base, since I have an embossed design on the front, when I go to burnish my score line, I flip it over so that I'm burnishing on the back, so that I don't disrupt any of the design on the front. Okay. The next thing that we're going to do is make this frame. Now the frame is out of the Designer Series paper. And here is my piece. Now I already made my frame, and I didn't do it using dies. I did it just trimming with my trimmer, all right? And basically what I did was I lined it up across this top ridge, of course, because that holds my paper nice and straight. And then with my cutting blade, I want to make sure that I don't have that right at the top. All right, so when I put it down, I'm going to push it up to where my quarter mark is here, and then I'll bring it down to this side where the quarter mark is. And I'm going to leave it there. Now as I open this, I'm going to turn this 180 degrees, and I'm going to line it up at the 1/4 inch. So when I put the blade down, it's already where I want it, and I'm going to push it up to the 1/4 inch. And then when I open this, now I can turn it for the side and line it up at the 1/4 inch here. And when I put it down, it's already at the 1/4 inch. And I'm going to come down here to where my 1/4 inch would be in from the edge. Leave the blade there. Flip this 180. Put it at my 1/4 inch, or whatever measurement. If I wanted to do it at 1/2 inch, just do it the same distance all the way around. When I put my blade down, it's already at the 1/4 inch, and I can go up to the 1/4 inch. And then when I take this out, it should, if I did it good, it should pop right out. Okay, so there's just a little corner there that hung on. All right, so that's how I do my frame when I don't want a decorative edge that would be provided by a die. Okay, I did this just as a sample because this is the size. Well, we'll have to decide if we want a little bit bigger, because the picture, I guess I didn't really look at this closely enough, and the recipes don't give me inches or any measurements. So we could use that one, or we could use this smaller one. And I think maybe we will use a smaller one. All right, so we could also flip this over and use the decorative side of that, but I'm going to use this side. Okay, and I'm going to save this original frame for something else. We'll use another, use that on another card. So for this to get it raised, because if you look at the picture, I can tell that that's raised. You could use dimensionals, but I like to use my adhesive strips because they're a nice width. They're easy to use. And I'm going to move that in just a little bit more from the edge. And then let's cut a couple more pieces here. I want about to there. And you can tell I've used up almost all of this pack. These are great when you're making shaker cards or when you just have some narrow pieces like this. And it's really pretty flexible. So if you're doing like a shaker card and you have like a round, let's say you wanted to do, you know, a circle or something, this is very flexible. It'll move around. So that's the foam adhesive strips that I used. So let's go ahead and take these off. And I think I'm just going to do this one card tonight. I got a little later start than I had hoped. And let's just lay this down here. I'll try to make it go nice and smoothly flat so that there's no ripples in it. And I do see that there was a little rough cut here. So I'm just going to take my snips and smooth that out a little bit. Okay. Then these other pieces I pre-cut. All right. So we've got the branches, and had I been thinking ahead, I would have actually used my adhesive sheets on the back of here, but of course I wasn't. All right. So we're going to trim this one down probably to about there. And then this one is going to go here. And I'm going to go ahead and use my fine tip bottle. I just got this at the dollar store when it was still the dollar store. Now it's a $1.25 store. But it's the Tombow multi-purpose liquid glue. I just put it in the smaller fine tip bottle. And we'll get a little bit dotted on here. Hopefully it'll start flowing. There we go. I made sure that it wasn't plugged up earlier. All right, so we'll go ahead and put this down. We'll do a little bit more on the second branch. Now I used the metallic foil specialty designer series paper. I think that's what it's called. I'll go pull it out and take a look, see what it's really called. I don't remember, but it comes in I think copper, gold, and silver. Textured metallic. So copper, gold, and tungsten. So my gold sheet was done, so I used the copper or the bronze. What was that? Yeah, bright copper. So I used the copper on this one. This one was done with some old gold sheets that I have, and that's another sheet of the copper. All right. So it looks like I didn't get this laid quite flat because I have a little bit of like warp going on there. So I'll try to lift this up a little bit and get it laid a little flatter down. I probably should have laid one side at a time and then just rolled it down, but I wasn't thinking ahead. All right. Hopefully that'll be better. All right, and then we'll take some of these pieces. So there's these dies, and it's the Inspiring Imperfections stamps and dies. It's all part of the suite, but I already cut those out. So if I'm following the design in the catalog, we're going to put one up here. We'll put one of the smaller pieces here, and then we'll put another one here. And it's too small to use dimensionals for, so we'll put a little glue here, and then we'll put some glue on there, and will give it a little bit of dimension just because we're going to put it on the frame. All right, so we'll go there. That'll be on the frame. And then this piece will be over here on the branch. So we can put a little bit more glue on this side, and then I'll just dab that a little bit more there. All right. And then this piece we'll do just flat on here. And you don't need a lot of glue. The multi-purpose liquid glue, actually just a little bit goes a long way. And I just try to do a little dot, dot, dot action there. And here we'll put glue up on these flowers because that's where I just saw it laying on the frame. And then we can put some more over here where it's going to lay flat on the card. And we'll just kind of line that up where it would lay on the branches. And then we're down to our sentiment. So I thought what I would do, let me put these things out of the way. What I thought I would do is emboss in gold right on a segment of this and just fussy cut around it. All right, so I'm going to take my embossing buddy and I'm going to just get rid of some of the static there. I'm going to get our Versamark and ink up that sentiment. And then I usually just hold it on for a couple of seconds so that it can soak into the paper. And then I'm going to do something a little bit different. Let's see if it'll work. Otherwise, I'll just trim it off. Let me get a scrap piece of paper here. What I want to do is get just a little Versamark right on the edge here. I guess I need to go a little further. I'm just trying to look at the ink pad here. And then we're going to take some of my gold. And I keep mine in a little bin. And what I've done here then is I've closed off that area that just didn't have any embossing on it. And hopefully this will look good here. Let me get my embossing gun, my heat gun. And I like to heat from the back of my paper so that I can watch it change. See that magic? Hopefully you can see that happening there. So once it's all shiny, it's done. When you're doing it on designer series paper, it works really easily. Cardstock sometimes takes a little bit longer. And then all I'm going to do is fussy cut around here and we'll see how it looks. And when I fussy cut, I usually do not move my scissors so much as I move the paper. And a little bit where I embossed it on the edge is not quite the same texture as the other, but we can also kind of maybe camouflage it a little bit. with another branch. Of course, this is gold and this is bronze, so I probably should have used the bronze or the gold branches, actually. We could put another one of these here. And I think I'll put this up on dimensionals. Actually, I've got a couple little scraps of these strips. So let's just do that since they're there. I really like this set. I like the technique is cool with the whole pottery mending. I think that's straight. And I see I have a couple of pieces here that didn't come out. We could put this over here. And that'll kind of help camouflage where it's not quite the same texture, but it won't be real obvious because we'll have it covered up with some flowers here. All right, and there we go. Now we could put some of these floral elements on here, but the catalog doesn't have any other kind of embellishment. I think with the foiling on here, the embossing, that probably gives it enough glitz. And if I had used the gold instead of the bright copper, these would probably look a little bit better. But I don't really think it needs anything else. All right. So that's my card for you tonight, cased right out of the catalog. And there's nothing wrong with casing the catalog. That's why they give us such nice samples. And tomorrow, I think I'm going to try to do something with these, and we'll do like a sketch. We'll see if there's any others. I also thought that a shaker card would work well too. So stay tuned. Happy Memorial Day to those who recognize that holiday here in the United States, in memory of all the service members who gave their lives for our freedoms. I certainly appreciate and salute our military. All right, so until next time, happy crafting.